Hey y'all, I'm going to do a reading on Jeffrey Epstein, and what inspired me to want to do this reading is because I have seen a clip of this interview right here. And during when I watched the clip, I was getting a lot of visuals, and I also became interested in what this is because on my other channel I talk about archetypes, and Jeffrey Epstein is like the perfect example of the devil archetype. And like I said about the devil archetypes is that they give some of the best conversations because they know a lot about a lot. But did I say death or the devil archetype? Because if I said death, I mean the devil archetype. But death and devil have this in similarity where they are fascinated with death. But they are fascinated with death in like different ways. Like it's a TV show called Killing Eve on Netflix. And the killer, which she is also a devil archetype, she had a fascination of seeing the life leave people's eyes when she murdered them.
Sono stata mandata per te, sì.
Sei bellissima.
Dovresti imparare a chiedere prima di attaccare una persona.
Mi sembra che mia moglie abbia un vestito così.
Nonna, sto per uscire!
And you will see that the devil archetypes a lot of time would have a fascination with death, the soul. I feel like the death archetype have more of a fascination of like the afterlife and stuff like that, but the devil archetype, they really have a fascination of life in the moment, like the time when a person die, or when the soul leave the body, or even certain fascinations with how much pain a person can endure. Like even a fascination like in, because there's a point that I believe like for a lot of people, like I heard something a while ago about people who get in like fatal car accidents, and they say that a lot of times the soul leaves the body like right before the accident. And I believe that to be true in certain situations. Like before the crash and everything, like the soul like leaves the body. Devil archetypes would be fascinated with stuff like that. But the clip that he was talking about, he said that they zoomed in to like an atom or a neutron, and he said that what he seen there, it was nothing there. And that reminded me of a teacher that I had in high school. Very cold woman. Like she was very pale skin. She was grayed all out. She was very analytical. I think that she might have been teaching history class. I'm not really sure. It was either like history or science or something like that. And the first day of class, she, introduced herself and everything, but she told this story about having a near death experience. And she said that she died for like 6 minutes. And she said that when she died, all she seen was darkness. She said she didn't see no light. She said she didn't see anything. She said that it was pure just darkness. And because of that experience, like, she like don't believe in God. She don't believe in certain things because of that experience. Like, she's not very spiritual and everything, because she was like, well, I experienced death and there was nothing. There was nothingness. And I know from a spiritual aspect that there, even in nothingness, there is something. It's just that you can't visualize it. It's almost like damn, what's that show called? American Gods. And the girl died and she didn't believe in anything. So they said that she wouldn't go to anything.
I must take your heart. I must weigh your heart.
Against a feather. I can already tell you who wins. I lived my life, good and bad. Definitely not light as a feather. Where am I going?
You pass through. In life, you believed in nothing. You will go to nothing. You will be done. There will be darkness.
In peace?
There will be darkness.
I want to go back.
Already your flesh has been moved. Already your loved ones have selected for you the clothes to shroud your decomposition. Already you are in the ground.
Do I get a say in this?
Death is not a debate. How many do you think have come before you? All with promises and threats and offers of glory, gold, love. Who are you to misguide me from my duty?
Fuck.
So it's like, it's kind of like in that same realm and everything. I feel like I'm not explaining things as clear as I want to. I think Mercury is retrograding. But yeah, that's how I've been feeling lately. Like, I'm not really explaining things as well as I would like. But and that same energy that I seen in that teacher is like, I see it within him. I feel like he has a very analytical mind, a very scientific mind. And I feel like these are the people who, they can't tap into their spirituality within them. So they constantly seeking it externally. They constantly looking for it. But that creates great scientists, because they like, if I'm gonna believe it, I need proof of it. And I feel like he is that type of person. So I'm finna listen to what he has to say, and I'm gonna pull some cards on it and see what I get. But before we start the video, I wanted to first pull some cards on, like, who is Jeffrey Epstein, like his personality, what type of person he is. Alright, who is Epstein, what type of person he is. He is a very interesting person, like, and I feel like he has been around for a long time, meaning that I feel like he is a part of certain organizations where they can move their consciousness from body to body. So they have been living with their memories for thousands of years. there are constitutions that has been signed all over the world. And the people who have signed those constitutions are still around with the memory of signing those constitutions, like the one that we have in the U.S. The founders, the so-called forefathers of that particular constitution that we are currently living under, that system, those forefathers are still walking around with the consciousness and the memory of signing that constitution. And I feel like Epstein is a part of that circle. I feel like that he has been living with his memory for a very long time. And the people that has been existing like that, they have a very interesting way of looking at death and looking at spirituality and looking at life, because we look at these people and we be like, these are some sadistic people. They don't care about lives. They don't care about souls or anything like that. But they believe in energy. Wholeheartedly, they believe in energy. They believe in energy in a way that we should be believing in it, because we live in constant fear because we don't have the same beliefs and we don't have access to certain things that they have. So that makes us live in this constant state of fear that they do not have. And they view death as like a transition. And that's why it's like they so seemingly reckless with it. That's why they could see a child being tortured and die, and it doesn't affect them in the same way that it would affect us. Because they know certain things about energy. They know certain things about souls that we don't know. So, like, if they was to see somebody die in front of them, it's not gonna startle them like it will startle us. They might say something like, yeah, they be back. It's cool. They be back. And this is after just seeing them, like, shoot somebody in the head or something like that. And they be like, don't worry about that. Like, they be back. Like, why do you stress about certain things? Like, there's no need to stress about it. But to us, it look gruesome. To us, it looks sadistic. And in so many ways, it still is sadistic. Because they don't care about the karma. They don't care about the pain. They don't care about, because the karma comes into place generationally. And for certain bloodlines, they keep us in a constant state of confusion. They keep our souls trapped in this realm to be slaves to them. So that's why it's still sadistic and everything. But it's kind of like, if you was to like zoom in a little bit more, you can see their perspective. You could kind of understand like their point of view, even though it's really messed up in so many ways. But all right, let me get into these cards. So what type of person is he? So I have the angel card. It came out in the light and shadow attribute. The light attribute, helping those in need with no expectations of return. Shadow attributes, acting innocent or angelic to mislead others, falsely claiming to be in touch with angelic guidance. You know, from this card, I'm getting like past life. I feel like Jeffrey Epstein, I feel like he one of those people who got indoctrinated into like whatever cult that he into. Maybe like around like the 1700s or something like that. And I feel like he could have been like some type of priest or something like that. Now, he do not have memory of his incarnations before that time. But I do feel like at some point in his incarnations, he changed people's lives. And, you know, seemingly outside looking in, if you was like look at it, because maybe he saved a community from starvation or something like that. Like, it would look nice. It would look angelic. These people might have even view him that way. And I feel like that's what got him indoctrinated, is the influence that he had over the people of wherever he was at. But even before that time, I felt like he was energetically watched for many lifetimes. And that title of angel, I feel like that's a title that he really do have. I personally, I don't trust all the angels, you know. A lot of angels are agents that work against you. So, and I feel like he is one of those. All right, so let's get the next card. It came also in the light and shadow attribute: nutrients, patience, unconditional love, joy in giving birth to life. Shadow attribute: smothering or abandoning children, instilling guilt in children for becoming independent. What I'm getting from that card is that he has a natural curious mind. Okay. Now, he has a history of doing a lot of messed up things to children. But if you was to like talk to him and have like a deep conversation with him about children, it's almost like he talk about them in such fascination. But it would be fascination in how programmable they are. It would be fascination in their blood cells or something like that. It would be fascination to their curiosity and creativity, because it points at something that he's interested in. Like, I feel like he has a interest in spirituality, a interest in psychic gifts, and I feel like he has an interest in the soul. I feel like he is looking for something that is missing within himself. And I feel like when you sign up with these organizations, like certain sectors of like Masons and everything, when you get indoctrinated into it, you become a slave to the flesh. Almost like you lose your access to travel outside of this realm. And I feel like that is the reason why they so obsessed with control, because this is all they have. There is nothing beyond this for them. And I feel like that is like a contract that they sign. It's kind of like with vampires. Like, you could live forever in this realm, but you don't have access to other realms. So they want to create this realm into a paradise for them. But in order for them to do that and be comfortable, they have to maintain and control. They have to make other people bow down to them. So they do that through the systems that they create. They do that through the religions that they create. They do that through manipulation and fear. This is all ways to keep you under their control. So he has, like, even if you was to like sit down and talk to him about children, it could seem like and sound like he loved children. He has a deep fascination with them, but he loved what children represent. But he look at them like a tool to get to knowledge that he is trying to obtain. So I also got the Avenger card, light attribute, desire to balance the scales of justice, righteousness on behalf of society or oneself. That's how he feel. That's what he feel like he is doing. Like, his mindset is completely different from like everyday people. And it's because of knowledge that he has access to. He look at the world completely differently. And I feel like I'm kind of talking about him like he's alive, because I do feel like he is. I don't feel like Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Jeffrey Epstein is like that character in the Matrix. I believe they call the Archetype. That is like what he is like. And something that, when I first seen the clip, which was hours ago, it's something that he said that made me think about the aspect in the Matrix when they said that the first reality that they created for humans was like this utopia, but the human consciousness rejected it because it was too perfect in a sense. It's something about what he said like triggered that memory. And I feel like he think in that way. He think in a sense that he feel like he should be the architect of people's lives. And he feel like he doing the right thing. Like, whatever side that he chose, he strongly feel like he is doing the right thing by supporting that side.
The problem is choice.
The first Matrix I designed was quite naturally perfect. It was a work of art, flawless, sublime, a triumph equaled only by its monumental failure. The inevitability of its doom is apparent to me now as a consequence of the imperfection inherent in every human being. Thus I redesigned it, based on your history, to more accurately reflect the varying grotesqueries of your nature. However, I was again frustrated by failure. I have since come to understand that the answer eluded me because it required a lesser mind, or perhaps a mind less bound by the parameters of perfection. Thus, the answer was stumbled upon by another, an intuitive program, initially created to investigate certain aspects of the human psyche. If I am the father of the Matrix, she would undoubtedly be its mother.
The Oracle.
Please. As I was saying, she stumbled upon a solution whereby nearly 99% of all test subjects accepted the program as long as they were given a choice, even if they were only aware of the choice at a near unconscious level. While this answer functioned, it was obviously fundamentally flawed, thus creating the otherwise contradictory systemic anomaly that, if left unchecked, might threaten the system itself. Ergo, those that refuse the program, while a minority, if unchecked, would constitute an escalating probability of disaster.
This is about Zion.
You are here because Zion is about to be destroyed. Its every living inhabitant terminated, its entire existence eradicated.
Bullshit.
Denial is the most predictable of all human responses. But rest assured, this will be the 6th time we have destroyed it, and we have become exceedingly efficient at it.
But it's like this arrogant mindset, because I believe that he is also aware that a lot of what they have has been stolen. But he feel like they took that stolen information and they are doing better with it. Like, he really feel like he is like God. Like, he feel like that. So the next card I got is the Femme Fatale, and it came out in the light attribute. Highlights the erotic energy of feminine. Opens your heart when your dependency is rejected. Yeah, that's interesting because, you know, I never really seen people talk about male prostitutes that he utilized. And I'm sure that it was. So what I'm getting from this card is that he knows something about the feminine body and how the vagina is a portal, and how you could use that portal ritualistically. That's why he got into this particular part of the business. He has a deep understanding around sex and esoteric knowledge. So when they are doing certain things, like when it comes to the abuse and everything, the sexual abuse, is heavily occultic and ritualistic, because he he has deeply been studying for lifetimes upon lifetimes about this, about sex and how ritualistic it is and how powerful it is. Like, he even look at what you would call everyday people who don't have access to certain knowledge that he do. So it's like this. If he was to take one of his escorts and everything versus a woman that is working like a everyday job, 9 to 5, just living a regular life, but she casually have sexual partners or whatever. Maybe she have one night stands every once in a while. Maybe she even get into relationships and be intimate with that person. He will look down on that person, but not his escort, because he will look at his escort as some type of conduit that he has charged certain energies within. So now that energy is valuable to him, but he look at everyday people as very reckless with their sexual energy. Now he participates in some diabolical sexual rituals that at the end of it a person could lose their life. But it's almost like he viewed that as holy. But I mean, even when it comes to like a married couple, and let's say that this married couple is high school sweethearts and they only been with each other and they been married for like 30 years, he will look down on them. He won't look at that as a holy matrimony. But a child that he sacrificed in a sexual ritual, he will look at that as holy. I hope that I'm making sense. Because he look at us as like we are lost. We are lost within their system. They know the truth and we don't. So we are basically just sheep. And things that we think that is holy and righteous is actually inverted. Like, that is his mindset. And I understand it. I do. Because it's truth in that. There's certain things and certain ways of living that they program within us that is indeed inverted. But what they are doing is also inverted. Because, a lot of what they have has been stolen. This is ancient rituals, ancient magic and everything. And in order for them to get it to work for them, they had to invert the energy. Like, whatever they are trying to accomplish in the brutal and sadistic way that they do it can also be accomplished in a way of love, that it doesn't have, they don't have to utilize fear, pain, manipulation, brutality in order to get the energy. But that's how they decided to do it. And it's because they are inverted in nature. They have a disconnection from source. And because of that, in order for them to feed, it's like they have to do it in an inverted way. And that makes me think of like Baphomet. Now, I don't see the Baphomet as like a evil character and everything, like, but the Baphomet and the rituals created around that, what you would call it, religion, I suppose, are within it, embedded within it is absorbing energy from an outside source. So editing this, I came to the realization that the pentacle, that which is also associated with the Baphomet, but they created the inverted pentacle. But the original pentacle was associated with the divine feminine, with the Isis energy, with the mother goddess energy. The original pentagram was associated with that. And so I was looking up some research on that, and it was saying how the original pentagram represents spirit over matter, but the pentagram represents matter over spirit. And it's like I'm talking about the inverted pentagram represents matter over spirit. And that confirmed what I was saying, which is that the inverted pentagram and the Baphomet was created to dominate the material world. So when I say that, I don't really see it as an evil thing. Like I refrain from seeing a lot of things as evil. It like just is. But I do feel like a part of the aspect when it comes to the Baphomet and the inverted pentagram is to dismiss and to dominate and control the divine feminine energy. Because when you look at Baphomet statue, it's a hermaphrodite, like masculine body with breasts. But intuitively I see that as integrating the feminine aspect but under its control. Almost similar like when they said that Eve was created from Adam rib. Like intuitively it's kind of like feeling the same as that. So built into that imagery, and it was created by a man, is misogyny and patriarchy. And I feel like that's why the imagery of the Baphomet was coming up when I was doing this reading. Like I'm editing this now while I'm editing the video. So this recording right now you listening to is weeks after. No, I'm gonna say days. It hasn't been that long, but days after I had did the reading. So yeah, I just wanted to put that input into this because quite recently, well, for a long time, I've been very suspicious of popular symbolism. My suspicion was originally just by the way it made me feel. It doesn't fully resonate with me. But now I know that the reason why my spirit is like rejecting some of this imagery and symbolism is because of the manipulation that is embedded within it. So that's why I've been creating my own symbols. I've been creating my own rituals. Because I don't trust their symbols or their rituals. I just don't trust it. So I've been creating my own. And I advise other people to do that as well. Because you could be a scholar And you could have read many books and you think that you know what you know. But if you didn't write that book, that means that you can't necessarily believe all the information that is in that book. And you know that a good lie has truth embedded into it, but you will have to dissect the truth from the lie. Because if you don't and you just performing these other people rituals, then you may be performing inverted magic onto yourself, especially if you're a woman. So that's something that you need to be aware of. It's because they don't know how to generate energy from themselves, or they don't have a connection from a connection to the ethers. That's why they utilize conduits. That's why they utilize psychic children. That's why they utilize oracles. Like, that's why they do it. I am hearing something that they prefer young psychics and oracles over older ones, just because children are so easily programmable versus like an adult. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into this video.
Plotinus, Pythagoras had these greats that we hear about, had they tried to solve the same problem?
Not the same problem. They try to, again, what Pythagoras does, he starts to figure out this relationships in triangles. For example, everyone knows the a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, that Pythagorean theorem, which is basically says these shapes in a triangle, each side of the triangle has a fixed relationship with the other two sides. That's strange. He knew, again, but it was all numbers. This was a system of things in the physical world, and Pythagoras says we can start putting numbers on things that help you predict how they will behave. You can add two triangles and make a square, some different shapes. They were looking at geometric forms. Newton says, well, I want to know how planets move. I want to know how things are.
Oh, okay, so before we get deep into this, I want to mention that so this is an old interview, but they recently been putting this aspect of the interview out into the public, and it's been hitting people's algorithm. Now, the way that I found this out is because when I was originally looking up for like this full video, which I haven't found the full interview of this interview, but this particular aspect, I'm like kind of clumsy and everything, so when it comes to my phone, I drop it a lot and I accidentally click on things. So when I was looking up this video, I put my phone down, and when I came back to it, Gemini was up, and Gemini was asking me, do I want to research this screenshot, because I didn't take the screenshot, but when I put my phone down and came back, it's like my phone took a screenshot, and Gemini was asking me, do you want me to analyze this photo? And I was like, sure. I like never utilize Gemini. Like, it pops up on my phone like all the time asking me weird shit, and I usually dismiss it. But this time I was like, you know what, like, go ahead, yeah, analyze this screenshot y'all just took on my phone and whatnot. And Damn. Did I not screenshot all of it? Can I look that up? Alright, so I only screenshot like one page of what it researched, but it was telling me that based on a search query in your screenshot, you are likely looking for the recently surfaced interview footage of Jeffrey Epstein, where he discusses his philosophical views on science and the human soul. In the video, which is part of a previous unreleased 2019 interview with Steve Bannon, Epstein discusses that intersection of physics, consciousness, and the metaphysical. So then it talk about like key points in the videos and stuff like that. But so this recently hit people algorithm. This is from a previously unreleased 2019 interview that they are recently releasing and putting out into the public. So I thought that was interesting. Like, real quick, I want to ask, why is they recently releasing this out into the public? Alright, so why are they recently releasing this to the public? Yeah, they preparing for something. Yeah, they preparing for some type of assault. Alright, this have to do with some type of assault on the divine feminine. I'm getting that because the Empress card came out. But the first card that came out is the Nine of Wands, which says that be on the defensive, prepare for an assault, keep resources in reserve. You will be surrounded by trouble. You feel emotionally and physically tired from the constant conflict and setbacks. Yeah. This is like an attack on our consciousness. Like, the reason why they released the files now that they did, they want us to be in fear. They really want us to fear them and fear what they can do. But earlier, when I seen the clip, I was picking up on the fact that Jeffrey Epstein know why certain people can't be touched. And it has to do with energy and your energetic field. And, you know, you don't gain this by being like positive all the time and whatnot. You gain this by a certain knowing and a certain relationship with the source energy in the universe. See, we spiritual people will look at it as divine. We will look at it as divine protection. They look at it as an energetic thing. Almost like a glitch in the matrix. And the reason why is very limited of what they can do with this energy is because it's like they had learned over time that they can accidentally fuel this energy, because the way that it's looking, it's like it's a chaotic looking energy. It's almost like everything around it is so structured and neat. Like, if you was to look at this being, which could be you with divine protection, and you are within a building, and everything around this being is concrete, solid ones and zeros. something that is easily programmable, easily controlled, easily equated, meaning that they have some type of mathematic formula that can understand the energy that they have control over it. But when it comes to these particular beings, it's not that simple. It's almost, it looks almost like a black hole or something like that. The energy is chaotic. The energy is unpredictable. The energy is not readable to them. And, you know, over time, they did certain things to destroy or manipulate these particular frequencies, because this is a frequency thing. It's almost like when they directed energy at it, it made it like expand. And it almost like as this energy expands, it creates more chaos in the environment. So instead of the chaos just being controlled within this being, now when you look at this being, because they've been fucking with it, now when you look at this being within the building, they manipulated the whole building, the whole structure of the building. I hope I'm making sense. I hope I'm making sense. So it's like at a certain point, you know, they have time before you get to this point. They have time before you get to this level. It's almost like in the Matrix, right? Because I had recently watched Animatrix. And as soon as somebody starts to awaken, they get an alert.
I have an unstable signal.
He cannot wake up. Do not let him wake up.
And they view it as like unstable energy within the matrix. And that energy has the ability to destabilize the whole matrix. And it gets to a certain point that they like, okay, our best bet is not fueling this energy. Because as the energy becomes more conscious and they try harder to manipulate the energy and get it under its control, it's like they are in a way feeding this energy information. information now that it can transmute, and it could cause a lot of destruction. So that's why some people have like a certain level of divine protection. And that's why they do certain things, like they will send things in to interrupt the frequency of that person, because this is why they have the whole thing as like karmic soulmates, karmic twin flames, and everything. This is an agent that they send in to restabilize your energy in a structure that they have control over your environment and what happened to you. So that's like how a lot of people end up losing their divine protection, is because they allow and accept something within their frequency that put them back into a box, or put them back into a structure that they could control. And that's when it become dangerous, because that's when they could like touch you. But before that thing came into your frequency, they wasn't able to. It's certain things that they just can't do to you. It's almost like they aiming a weapon at you, but they can't get a clear shot, because your frequency is always jumping around. Sometimes it's invisible to them. Sometimes they can't even see it. Like, and they try all types of things. Like, they might put shit in your water, and they know how potent this is, because if you are in that frequency that they can't control, even the people around you will be like protected by that energy. Because like I said, the energy changes, I guess, like the molecular I know I'm fucking that word up, but it changes the structure of everything around it, and it spans like over time. And even without them feeding it, it could still expand on its own. That's why they try to always like send something in. But it's almost like you have to accept it in, and you have to, like, in a sense, believe in it. And they know how powerful love is. So that's why that's like their main tool, their main weapon to get your ass, is they send in an agent that, now I'm saying restabilize, because if they could get you within a structure that they could figure out, then they can start to manipulate your reality and even like your destiny. And I feel like that's why a lot of people, like spiritual people, especially powerful spiritual people, you will see like they will get thrown into jail, or they will die after a certain person, a certain frequency or something like that enter their life. Now, this not going to happen like right away. It depends on how powerful and how easily manipulated the energy is. So, you know, they might send an agent into your life, and that agent can be in your life for years. And during that whole time, that agent is trying to restabilize your energy, which is like putting your energy within some type of construct, some type of mental cage, some type of system, some type of construct that restabilizes your energy in a way that they can have control of you. Some people are strongly resistant to this. They could be extremely stubborn. They could be hard to manipulate. They could have a high intuition. So as soon as that person start to cast certain spells and rituals onto you, you instantly start to recognize it. And I feel like if they could access somebody that is already close to you, like they will. That's why you have to have discernment with everything. As soon as a person get around you and in some way, somehow they trying to lower your frequency, like it's really important for you to get away from them. Now, you would notice this is because one of their main tools is that they will get the person to try to convince you to stop believing in yourself. Or they will try to get the person to get you to worship the mind and ignore the spirit, because that will disconnect you from your intuition, from your discernment. There's other ways, but I'm not gonna go into it right now. Maybe something he would say would trigger me to go into that realm, but let's push play.
Around me move. Can we find formulas? Can I find formulas that explain what I see in the physical world, how physical things interact and how they describe one another?
See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. See, I didn't even watch this part. Like, the part that I watched was like just a small clip. I think I was watching OG Reacts and he had like a small clip of this. So I didn't even see this part.
Again, the fact that two solid masses, for some very strange, unknown reason, unknown today, attract one another, no matter what they are. People have seen the experiment. You hang something, two little metal balls from a string, and they move towards each other. In fact, they move towards each other was very specific. So when you drop the ball to the floor of this room, Newton says, in fact, the room came up a bit to meet the ball. The room moved. It's imperceptible. You can't really perceive that motion, but they attracted each other with certain ratios. So he started to be able to measure things in the physical world. And that was...
Yeah. And they do that with, like what he is talking about, also within it is like spiritual contracts. I do believe that there are souls here that represent two halves. Like one half represents the divine masculine and the other half represents the divine feminine. And I feel like that's where they get the whole twin flame concept from. But there's a lot of manipulation within, like if you was to research and look up information on twin flames, there is a lot of manipulation built into it. But there are souls that magnetize to each other. And I believe that they do a lot to keep certain souls apart. The reason is so that, because it's like if those two souls was to get together and they both have this frequency that is hard for them to control, it's like, let's say that they are two black holes and they collide and turn into one massive black hole, like, that scares them. That scares them a lot. But within this is still like certain like spiritual laws and whatnot. Let me see if I get more information on that within these cards. See what the cards say. I'm already hearing that some of these souls have been trying to get to each other for lifetimes. They've been trying to get to each other. And this particular time, I'm hearing that it might even have something to do with something astrological. This particular time and this particular timeline, those souls would get together. Now this is in this timeline, which is time is an illusion within itself. We have experienced this timeline multiple times. I'm trying to find a better way to explain that and it makes sense. But we had experienced this timeline multiple times. A few times they have been able to reset it. How was they able to reset it? Too many cards. Damn it. How was they able to reset it? Okay, so, time is not linear, but our experiences stick. Like, they can't take away the experience. So it's like a lot of us has repeated certain timelines. And as we repeat those timelines, like, we get better, we get wiser, and we know how to navigate their manipulation better. The reason why they have been able to reset these timelines is because they've been able to like trick people out of their spots. The first card that came out was the Ten of Swords reverse. You are not facing problems. They won't go away on their own. You will need courage to overcome them. And I was hearing hero's journey. I heard that term before, but let me just Google it real quick. Like, literally, we just been in a loop. It doesn't matter if you have a lifetime in the 1700s and you now in the lifetimes of 2024. No, 2026. It doesn't matter. We just been going in a circle. Like, we might have different fashion, different clothes, different entertainment or whatever. But we basically been experiencing the same thing. So, let me read what this hero's journey say. The hero's journey is a common narrative template, blah, blah, blah. Departure, initiation, and return. This structure often broken into 12 stages. follows hero who leaves their ordinary world, overcomes trials in a special world. What? And returns transformed. Damn, bro, that was perfect. Alright, let me just tell you the 12 stages. The ordinary world, the hero's normal life. Call to adventure, a challenge or mission is presented. That's number 2. Number 3, refusal of the call. The hero hesitates or fears the journey. That's where a lot of us get stuck at. Number 4, meeting the mentor. What? The hero gains confidence or tools from a wiser figure. Number 5, crossing the first threshold. The hero commits and enters the special world. Tests, allies, enemies. The hero learns the rules of this new world. This is perfect, bruh. Number 7, approach to the innermost cave. The hero prepares for the central crisis. Number 8, ordeal, a major life or death crisis. Something else is that I'm hearing is that certain events are triggered by other events. So it's like if the twin flames were to start to get together, that would trigger off another event. So, you know, there's a lot of people, they stuck in the mindset that they waiting on Jesus to return. They stuck in the mindset that they waiting on the apocalypse. None of that will never happen if certain other things don't happen. Certain events are triggered when other things are realized. Number 9, go back to number 8, ordeal, a major life or death crisis. Yeah. I'm getting so much information right now, so just be patient with me. I'm trying to organize it all. Number 10, the rollback. The hero begins the return journey, often chased. Number 11, resurrection, a final high stakes test. Number 12, return with the elixir. The hero brings the reward home to help others. So as we've been going through these like incarnation cycles, and when I said that, I got a visual of the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail. Everything is connected. But as we go through these incarnations, we become wiser and wiser on this hero's journey. Because even though they wipe our minds, they can't wipe our souls and our consciousness. So within us, we still have those memories and lessons of our past lives. But it's like each incarnation, we make better decisions. We get over certain fears. We get over certain limitations. But a lot of people get stuck at number 3. Refusal of the call. The hero hesitates or fears the journey. That's why they keep us in a state of fear. Because the hero hesitates the journey because of fear. And if they can make you fear the journey, which is why they put certain roadblocks in front of us, like religion, which indoctrinate us and install the fear of the journey itself. And see, I feel like a lot of people in this particular incarnation is feeling like exhausted. We done been through this too many times. And it's like the way that they operate is like AI. Like they really can't do nothing different because they not programmed with something different. So each incarnation, they've been putting us through the same shit with the same techniques. It's getting to the point that some people have so many incarnations that they becoming a pro at this shit. They are waking up faster. They are so exhausted that they don't even fear the outcome anymore. They just like, I just need something different. Regardless of what happens, I just need something different. A lot of souls that have been incarnating from a long time, which there are multiple levels of these souls, because some of us has been doing this a lot longer than others. Yeah, because I'm hearing that some of us get stuck here, but some of us come here because we want to. Like, why do we decide to come here from the other realms? Why do we decide to come here? What I'm getting from these, because a lot of these cards came out sideways, is to completely understand and to integrate duality. And I'm hearing that it's also to understand whatever the demiurge represents. Which is what do the demiurge represents? Let's get a different deck. Alright, what do the demiurge represents? Limit. Darkness looms on the horizon. Rivalry and indulgence. Unseen forces watch over you. Your abilities will be enhanced. When I was pulling these cards, I was hearing training to be a god. And then I had this reference that came into my mind. It's this story that I read a long time ago. It's called The Egg. I haven't read it in a long time, but it's relevant right now. And I was also getting the download about Sophia and her creating the false god out of her like lower natures. But when I was originally reading a certain sector of like the Gnostics, they were saying that Sophia wanted to integrate with the source, and it's like the only way for her to do that is to understand the lower nature. So that's like what we doing. That's like what we are doing here. But it's like, if you can resist the lower nature, your consciousness will naturally start to ascend. And as you ascend, this realm become less dense. It will no longer have control over you. your lower nature will no longer have control of you. You will have control of it, and you will have complete understanding of it.
What I see in the physical world, how physical things interact and how they describe one another. Again, the fact that two things, two solid masses, for some very strange, unknown reason, unknown today, attract one another, no matter what they are. People have seen the experiment. You hang of something, two little metal balls from a string, and they move towards each other. In fact, they move towards each other was very specific. So when you drop the ball to the floor of this room, Newton says, in fact, the room came up a bit to meet the ball. The room moved. It's imperceptible. You can't really perceive that motion, but they attracted each other with certain ratios. So he started to be able to measure things in the physical world. And that was great advances. It also, now you wanted to move very quickly. Unfortunately, most people, especially in the 20th century, 19th century, said, well, like Newton, let's measure everything. Let's measure people's behavior. Let's measure their psychology. Let's measure their health. You go to we can have my blood test. Let's measure everything. We measure Wall Street.
Their voting habits.
Measure, measure, measure. Can we put a number on how much I care for my wife? Can I put a number on how I feel? And we tried, unfortunately, we try to mathematize the finer things in life, and then recognize that there's things that, unfortunately, just fall outside. Everyone, Schrodinger.
And that's why love is so powerful. They even shown that in the Matrix. Like, the reason why Neo and Trinity was able to reach each other was because of the love that they had for each other. And that's the reason why the Oracle set it up like that. Because the Oracle has been trying for many incarnation cycles to change the Matrix. And, you know, she manipulated things in each carnation cycle to get the result that she was looking for. And the one time that it worked is that she gave Neo, well, I'm saying that she gave Neo and everything like that, but I'm guessing that she installed the feeling, the attachment of love to Trinity, so that he would be motivated by love to make a different choice, a different decision.
Wrote a very famous book about what is life. He was trying to figure out a way, can he describe the difference formulaically between things that are alive and things that are dead? The answer is no. The things that are alive in my world are miracles, not magic. Magic has a bad connotation, trying to hide things.
You don't believe in the spirit or the soul? That's what animates people, is your spirit or your soul. That's
no.
Have you ever seen someone die? When they die, their spirit leaves.
Their soul leaves, no question. So
There's no question to you about
no
that.
question.
There's no question to you that there is some animating life force within us that leaves when you're dead.
Yes, in fact, I refer to the soul. Obviously, a certain the questions in the past, even
because
during
people would normally think you were soulless. So
thank you.
But have you talk about you actually believe in it and have done some thinking about it is pretty shocking in its own right.
Why did he say thank you for being soulless? I'm kind of getting that, you know, it's very complex. He's saying thank you because he felt like he sacrificed his soul for power. But I don't feel like he see it as a good thing that he doesn't have what he consider a soul. I feel like existence for him in a lot of ways is like painful and disappointing. You know, sometimes when people be rich or are born into wealth and everything, life become boring. Life becomes predictable. And I feel like he has pain around that. But I feel like the reason why he said thank you in this sense is because he was responded to being slighted. Because he knew that this interviewer looked at him in a certain type of way. And I think maybe it was like even like a psychological thing, because he know that if somebody was to say that to him, the person think that he is supposed to be offended. When he look at the soul as very like scientific. So to like throw him off, he like, you know, you could think what you want, but I know the truth. He felt like he have power. And he feel like he also had power over this interviewer. I feel like I wonder how this interviewer is doing today. Like, did they have money issues after this? Like, I think I have to look that up later.
Isn't it?
Well, again, mathematics, Leibniz thought.
We know Newton was at Cambridge, and he was the head of the math department, right? He's a professor, essentially.
Yes.
But Leibniz, was Leibniz a German professor?
Yes. But what Leibniz said is the soul is so strange because God took chemicals, which is simply the material, like tables, and he somehow made this material able to have a thought. How strange is that? Not only does it have a soul, but this some way it was put together that this material substance is able to think. So when you say to me, it's obvious to everyone that there's such a thing as a soul. Now, if you're part of the Charlatanville, you'll try to explain it to people. The soul I describe as the dark matter of the brain. Why is it dark matter? Because in high energy physics nowadays, you hear terms of dark matter, dark energy. Again, terminology. It's a complicated term. Why is it dark matter? Because we can't see it. That's all. What do you mean you can't see it? Well, somehow we see something moving towards this area of darkness. Something, I can see this thing. This appears to me to be empty. It's just black. But I see it being drawn this way. So I say, well, I know if this were matter, that would follow that equation. If this was solid, it would explain the way this particle moves. But I can't see anything here. So I'll just call it dark matter. And I'll say, I don't know what it is, but it behaves as if there was something there. The soul is obvious to everyone that there's something different between things that are alive and things that are not alive. But we have no idea what it is. It's currently unexplainable. I believe we need an entirely different system of analysis to try to figure out.
But
Sorry.
No, with Newton, you know, with all his chemical studies and things he worked on the spiritual side, Leibniz had just talked about the soul, Schroeder talked about what is life. If a modern scientist or someone that you funded at MIT or at Harvard or one of these things talked in those types of terms, they would be considered to be a wingnut today, wouldn't they? They would not be on the path for tenure, right?
Unless they were in the philosophy department.
This is exactly my point. We're talking about three of the greatest mathematicians in mankind's history. that have really changed mankind. Talking like this, what happened? How do we get to a situation where they could not be in the high physics, they could not be in the mathematics department or working in high energy physics?
Good, it's an easy answer. Newton was a combination of mathematician, or geometer then, and philosopher. And as time went on, those disciplines seemed to move apart. We had philosophy, some of the philosophers can't do math, and some of the mathematicians. And again, mathematicians often break into two categories. People that solve problems, those are more like geometers in the old days, just problem solvers. And then there's thinkers, theoreticians. They're more like the old movement towards philosophy. But neither one of those two groups have been able to figure out why something is alive as opposed to something that's not alive. No one's been able to describe what the soul is, but we all know it exists. And I think what we need is science is a bad word. I think science only describes the things we already know about the physical world. In fact, there's an argument that the physical world that we see has been created out of our systems of mathematics. Mathematics, everyone knows mathematics describes the physical world much greater than it should, unless my view, the physical world really comes out of conscious beings that have mathematics. So they create it. This table appears to you and I to be solid. To a bat, because we have light that's bouncing off the table into our eyes, it appears solid. If instead of...
And you remember that part where he said that, they call it dark matter because it's something that they can't see.
The soul I describe as the dark matter of the brain. Why is it dark matter? Because in high energy physics nowadays you hear terms of dark matter, dark energy. Again, terminology, complicated term. Why is it dark matter? Because we can't see it, that's all. What do you mean you can't see it? Well, somehow we see something moving towards this area of darkness. I can see this thing. This appears to me to be empty, it's just black, but I see it being drawn this way. So I say, well, I know if this were matter, that would follow that equation. If this was solid, it would explain the way this particle moves. But I can't see anything here. So I'll just call it dark matter. And I'll say, I don't know what it is, but it behaves as if there was something there. The soul is obvious to everyone that there's something different between things that are alive and things that are not alive. But we have no idea what it is. It's currently unexplainable. I believe we need an entirely different system of analysis to try to figure out.
See, they was also fascinated with Bobby Hemmett as well. They literally can't see it. It's like similar to the thing that is in Cuba. They will never find it because they simply cannot see it. Ooh, and I'm thinking about vampires, how they can't see their reflection in the mirror. Like that is like what is going on with them. There's a reason why they can't see it, but they know that some can.
Eyes that responded to wavelengths of visual light. Our eyes responded to radio waves, the radio frequencies. It's not different. It's the same type of frequency as light, but different speeds. The table's invisible. We know that our phone works in this room. So the waves are coming through the windows. The waves are coming through the walls. So the walls are invisible to that type of radiation, that type of energy. The walls are, I can see them because my eyes, a physical system determines that the walls are there.
You, with Murray Gelman, you founded, or were the original donor, and had the idea of Sante Fe Institute. In 10 or 15 years later, that effort to study the complexity of systems mathematically.
Yes. It's a total failure. Yes.
A total failure.
Total failure.
Why is that?
Okay, so I was doing some research on this guy who started the Sante Fe Institution with Jeffrey Epstein, which he was a donor to it, but it was this main dude named Maury Gilman, and so I went down this like rabbit hole and everything because I wanted to, because when you read the surface, it's really generic, but what I get from it is like cloning. Because first I was looking up what is the, the SFI, and they was talking about like physics and everything, and then I seen this thing called the Eightfold Way. So this is what Murray was working on before he started this SFI. Also with the SFI institution, they talk about private donors. Okay, now you know that when you hear Jeffrey talk, he talk about zooming in onto particles and everything. So when I was looking up the Eightfold Way, it was talking about like these interactions between particles and whatnot. And within it, I still seen the story of like the twin flames, like Zeus splitting the souls into two to weaken them. And I believe that is why they trying so hard to zoom in into these particles, because like we are those particles on a larger scale. So if you could get down to the core, to the micro level, I feel like that's where they find out how to even split the souls in two. And I was like wondering, like, what do that mean exactly? Splitting the souls in two. And I was getting a visual of like originally these were people, they didn't have like four legs and two heads and two legs or whatever. I feel like that is symbolic, but there was people that was just whole in their soul, just whole in nature, and they found a way to shut down certain mechanisms in these people. It could be a certain part of the brain or something like that, like the amygdala. I could be saying that wrong. Or something that it was like splitting the soul in two, because there was certain parts of people that they just couldn't access. Like those people no longer had access to certain parts of them. I felt like this started with just one individual, and then as incarnations went on, these people started to soul fragment into other individuals. But I believe that in the beginning of it, that this was just one whole complete person. Something happened. It could have been like biological warfare, psychological warfare, or something like that, that made these people fragment and unable to access certain parts of themselves. Like it shut down certain chakra centers. And I believe that after time of existing like that, the soul started to fragment into, and that's why now we have like these soulmates and these, the whole concept of like the twin flame thing. Like I believe that after the original incident, I believe that the soul did split into two. And that's how the whole twin flame journey manifested. Like when those particular people lived their life and they passed away and died, their soul was split into two. So it turned into two incarnations, like the masculine representation and the feminine representation. And then those two pieces broke off into soul fragments. And that's how the soulmates was created. But either way, we are dealing with aspects of ourselves when we are dealing with other people. Because I remember coming across something and the person was asking, like, how are new souls created? And this was a person, like they was like in Reddit or something, but it was like a religious sector of Reddit. So they was looking for a religious answer. And because somewhere in their belief, they know that more souls, oh no, it was the fact that more and more souls are supposedly coming to Earth. But even that could be a lie. Like I remember that overpopulation was like a concern. And now it seems like they concerned about, people not having children. And I was like, y'all should be glad. Since for so long y'all talked about overpopulation, but now they don't even talk. I don't hear nothing in the news about overpopulation anymore. But they is talking about the birth rate dropping. So there's a lot of lies and everything, and I feel like a lot of those lies are about to be exposed because things are not adding up. They are not adding up. But I believe that new souls are being created because of your soul fragmented. And that's why it seemed like some souls are new souls. Yeah, this was like a soul that was freshly fragmented off of you. But I believe that I'm not sure if it was 144,000, but I do believe it was around that range of original people. And I believe from those original people, like, we have a mixture of like NPCs, beings that doesn't have a soul, and then we have our soul fragments that we are dealing with, having relationships with people that we feel like are like our soulmates. And then you have the twin flame, which is one is representing the feminine aspect and the other is representing the male aspect. But I don't feel like they will necessarily be in those bodies because you've been incarnating for a long time. So when you incarnate into a new body, you might choose to be a male instead of a female or something like that. But you still carry like that feminine nature of that half. So, and I feel like they've been doing a lot of research on it, but they really can't fully figure it out. I feel like even with all they studying and research, that area that they talk about that they can't see, they just is no amount of research, is no amount of studying, and it's no amount of spying that could make them see it, because they also like to see it through the people with the spark, the original beings. Like they watch us, they study us, they research us because they're looking for certain answers and they will not be able to see it, no matter what they do. Another part I thought was interesting is when they say that these two particles, hydrons and antihydrons, are free, meaning they are not connected to the other half. They say meaning in isolation and not bound within an atomic nucleus, are believed to be unstable, which is like the same theory of what happened when Zeus split the souls in two, and eventually decay into other particles, meaning being incarnated back into here. Hold on, I want to read this other part. The only known possible exception is free protons, which appear to be stable, or at least take immense amounts of time to decay. Okay, by way of comparison, free neutrons are the longest lived unstable particle and decay with a half-life of about 611 seconds and have a mean lifetime of 879 seconds. What is that thing that people be using when they're looking at the meaning of gematria? I'm gonna look up what is the meaning of these particular numbers.
It's the failure of science because, in fact, if to some extent science doesn't describe romance. I don't know why I'm attracted to somebody. I don't know. People are attracted to each other, and everyone has the same feeling. They've seen someone walk in the room, and they say, "Oh, that person gives me a creepy feeling." Science has tried to describe. Science doesn't describe what creepy feelings means. They just know it's a creepy feeling. I think.
See, that's the thing with what I was talking about when it comes to this love and the twin flame thing. I kind of missed that part. Let me go back a little bit. But this person seemingly was bringing up like some type of experiment that he felt like is a failure. And I feel like that experiment was around love, intuition, and because I feel like they've been really hard trying to break certain bonds. And it's like the question that he have is that why each incarnation, why each lifetimes these souls start to magnetize together? And how can we stop them? How can we more effectively stop them from coming together? And I feel like maybe they even did experiments around trying to kill that what's inside of them that they think is attracting these souls together, which is like love and attraction. How can they stop people from recognizing certain soul contracts? And I feel like that's why the experiment failed. That's something that they can't understand. That's something that they can't comprehend.
Women, as I said the last time, have an intuitive sense. What is intuitive? They have intuition, they have feelings, and they're able.
See, I'll be blowing my own mind because, I haven't heard a lot of these parts. People can't really experience this the way that I'm experiencing it because, people could think that you lying or whatever like that, or you just making stuff up, and I don't even give a fuck. But what he just said just confirmed a lot of what I said, especially about the women part. Let me let him finish what he gonna say.
Able to deal in the realm of things that men, especially men like myself, find unexplainable. They have great, women have intuition.
Exactly. Dang, this creepy motherfucker right here, he would give a good conversation. Like, I would sit and have a conversation with him if I didn't think that he would try to kill me at the end of it. But he would make for a good conversation.
Men see things a bit differently. Men want to measure everything. Women are not really that interested in measuring.
In what you're saying in macro terms, you actually think science, mathematics, maybe ultimately technology is moving to that more intuitive?
I think science and math are old-fashioned. And unfortunately, people are still taught that they have to learn algebra in school and certain things in school.
Yes, man. And this is... Like, he knew how powerful intuition is. And he still studies and research it. He just do it from behind the scene because I do not feel like he passed away. Like, he is still living.
As opposed to learning to have an emotion.
Is this what Larry Summers was trying to get at? Maybe didn't say it perfectly enough, but what he was trying to get to.
Bro, where is the rest of that interview, though? Oh, here it is.
Before we get into the deep stuff, let's give some basics or some things I want to do inquiry from the others. Walk me through the Sante Fe Institute. What was it about the time of the math? And this was in the late 90s. So they're not going to hear me on this part, right? We're going to do it both ways?
It will not be on the video, but we do have...
Alright, so I'm finna go ahead and edit part 1. And then I want to come back and watch this interview. I wonder why did he change from a white shirt. And then like halfway through, he changed into a black shirt. Who is that?
Lots of the mathematics as if it was so close, it was almost there. And we could do lots of mathematics almost being at the limit. And this is really important, Steve, for today. Because most of the science up until today was things that are starting to approach the limit. You were taught in high school that if you had 1 divided by 0, if you remember your high school algebra, you were told, what's the answer to that? Is there an answer to 1 divided by 0? No, if you were in high school, I'd say, stay away from it. It's the boogeyman. You could write it down as it's undefined. It's not the...
And this is making me think of Terrance Howard, where he was coming out and what he was saying, which I don't fully understand what Terrance Howard was talking about. But I just fuck with it because 1, it was something different, and 2, it was it just getting so many people panty up in a bunch because we live in a realm, and I'm seeing it even with this interviewer, because he can't grasp onto certain type of things. You know, it's like the interviewer can't understand why would intuition would be more important than science. Like, he just can't understand that. And I feel like people are so deeply programmed and traumatized is that they defend the same system that they are sick of. They defend the same system that is making them sick and keeping them trapped. So when somebody come up with a concept outside of what the system has taught them, they instantly dismiss that person and call them crazy. So like what he was saying right here, if somebody was to come up with an equation that doesn't make sense to, I don't know, the people that you call the best of the best, like these the best mathematicians, the best scientists in the world, and somebody come along and they say something different that challenges their theories, then people gonna be like, you crazy, you insane.
Able to be determined, that there's a bunch of things, but in fact 1 divided by 0 is a strange things happen. It's a world.
Bruh, whoever that was, she seemed like she had something important to tell them, and she was tell him, and she was wondering like, is this important enough to to interrupt the interview? Like
World of the strange, and what I'll explain to you after is that.
Well, since I got my cards out, I'll go ahead and ask. What did she want to tell him? Why was she lurking in the back like that? Why was she lurking in the back like that? Is that girl that went to jail because of him? Why? That's interesting. See, there are people above him, and I believe that it's something about what he is saying that they don't like. So that must be the reason why they just now releasing certain parts of this interview. Because she had a piece of paper in her hand. It's almost like she just got a fax or something that was like, we don't like what he's saying right now. Like, there's need to be a stop to what he's saying. Because, see, this is like a frequency thing. You know, it's certain things that, and certain knowledge that is in a certain type of frequency. And they want to give you that in certain doses because they don't want to wake people too much. But it's like they know that they need a balance. Like, you know, when I was talking about earlier that I was wondering about the part of, you know, when they originally made the Matrix and it was a utopia and people consciousness rejected it. Well, I believe that in order for them to stabilize the Matrix is that they do have to give bits of truth. But they can't give too much or it will make people wake up. But if they was to give these people small doses of truth that is clouded in a certain type of illusion, then they could like keep the person consciousness satisfied but still sleep. You get what I'm saying? It's almost like if you completely hide the truth from them and you just gave them nothing but bliss or whatever, which remind you of what happened in the garden. you know, eventually your curiosity or even your memory of past lives is going to push you to go seek the truth. So to stop you from like fully seeking the truth, they give you little doses of it, but not too much though. Because it's like, if they don't control the amount of truth, and I feel like we get into a point, because there's some souls here that been incarnating so long that they need to give that soul a higher doses of truth. And it's like, it's getting to that point. So during this time, whenever he was saying what he was saying, they felt like that was too much. And I felt like she was actually coming to like reel him back some. Like, you going a little too far. And I'm kind of curious of like this is when he was like in trial or what. I'm not sure. But alright, so I'm finna go and edit the first half and